Hi, I'm Steve Morgan, and I do like a quote occasionally to help to express and expand the understanding of a particular concept. So here's one for you. If it wasn't for the possibility of suicide, I would have killed myself a long time ago. No, don't worry, that's not a personal statement. That is a quote, though I'm not entirely sure. Can't remember who it's particularly attributed to. I'd like to claim it, but I certainly can't claim that one. I think the German philosopher Nietzsche said something along similar lines in talking about the value of contemplating suicide for helping you to get through some of the darkest nights. So there's some parallels there. So why am I offering you this particular quote in this video? Well, I think it helps in terms of my contemplation of positive risk taking. In order to take a risk, we need to have some choices, and I think positive risk taking, and indeed some of the messages behind that quote, suggest to me the very essence of the importance of personal choice, personal autonomy in decision making. Is perhaps no higher decision that we can make than to either continue with or end our lives in some way. So the importance of, however deeply suicidal somebody's thinking is, their intentions, their plans, the importance of being able to connect with them on a human level and to help to have some deep, meaningful, engaged discussion so that we can support the person to see what possibilities there are in life, what choices they have, to help them to think in terms of the consequences of decisions and actions. This does require us to sharpen our skills of empathy and compassion. But perhaps the challenge there is to get past some of our fears about talking with somebody about some of their deepest, most challenging, most risky feelings and experiences. So positive risk taking can very much be about this idea of sharing, exploring, developing information, because ultimately information is power. And again, I want to emphasize that the importance of that deep connection with people. We can get a fuller assessment of the situation if we've developed some of that connection, that genuine empathy and compassion. If that's lacking, then the picture that you'll be assessing is going to be patchy at best, and certainly not going to give us a clear picture of the person's circumstances or indeed their intentions. So we are, when working with people who are expressing very difficult, challenging suicidal ideas or thoughts, we are working with them often at a depth of hopelessness, helplessness. So that's a reminder that our job is very much about trying to instill hope where people feel they've lost all sense of hope. And again, that is going to require that connection, that human connection, getting to understand, put ourselves as best we can in the shoes of the person, but develop this information. That's the key. So it's a two-way sharing of information. This is where also I would say strength approach has an important place to play. It is about trying to encourage a person to see that they have strengths, they have a past life, they have a current life, and indeed that we are there to help them to see a future life. Though we also have to be aware that for a very small number of people, that final decision has already been made, and it will be beyond pretty much anything that we can do in order to change that decision. We cannot set our expectations of preventing all suicides, but by exploring with somebody through that engagement, through that compassion, through that empathy, I will always argue that we are jointly taking risks with the person in that action, but we will minimise the harm, we'll minimise the frequency of which suicidal thoughts, ideas, plans become acted on and successfully acted on. So that's my main message in this particular video, is the importance of that human connection and the importance of choice and the importance that people have degrees of autonomy in that decision making. That's not a blueprint for every single situation where there's suicidal expression of ideas, but it is one that should help us to try and get past those difficulties that we will all experience in talking about very rare, very raw emotions in those rare circumstances. The emotions and the experiences of people when they feel at their lowest ebb. Our job is to find or help a person to try and find some of those sources for hope. So on that basis, I will finish on a positive note. As usual, I want to encourage you to take risks for positive outcomes.